Peace, 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 Moors. I hope everybody having an amazing morning. But I told my brothers and sisters I'm just gonna do a quick service announcement every morning before I get my day started, before I go into work. Like I said, I do teach at a couple elementary schools, and I tutor at Grand Canyon University. I tutor a lot of students on how to perfect their writing style, because in college, when you're getting your master's or your bachelor's, you have to write in the APA format, which is American Psychiatric Association writing style, or Chicago style, or Turabian style. So I tutor students how to do that and help them be successful. But what I want to do today, Morris, this morning, is just give a public announcement that I'm going to be going back to my hometown in July, Flint, Michigan. We're going to be there for probably 14 days, and we're going to be hosting a lecture. We're going to be hosting one lecture in Flint, Michigan at the YMCA, and then we're going to host another in Detroit, Michigan at the YMCA. I'm going to be posting those dates with the flyer, and I'm asking my brothers and sisters to come out in droves and support. All we asking for is a $20 donation. That $20 donation will give you, you can pick one of my books that I've gathered and compiled. I've gathered and compiled and divinely prepared 10 literature books and history books. So your $20 donation allow you to get one of those books, and if any other books you would like, you can purchase those for a donation. But at the lecture, I'm gonna have a plethora of other books from other authors that you can purchase, and we will send to you via UPS with a tax-exempt receipt and a tracking number. But with that being said, Moors, I just wanted to give a little history before we leave, because a lot of brothers are confusing things in words when I say we must look words up. And I just want to give you, I'm gonna quote something from the dictionary, the 1828 dictionary, Moors, when we must get things straight and you must research everything. And we talk about the word immigrant. Now, you remember immigrant is defined with an E and an I when you look it up, so you won't get confused. Immigrant, adjective. You hear that? This first one, immigrant, E-M-I-G-R-A-N-T, adjective, removing from one place or country to another distant place with a view to reside. Then you got it right again under immigrant is a noun, one who removes his habitation or quits one country or reign to settle in another. And then, more, as you have the word immigrant with the I-M-M-I-G-R-A-N-T. It's a noun, a person that removes into a country for the purpose of permanent residence. We're gonna break that down, Morris. We're gonna break that down in my teachings, in my civics teaching Monday. American, again, listen closely. A native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races, found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans in America. The name American must always exalt the pride of patriotism. You see that? Now I'm gonna give you one more thing, and we're done. Like the dictionary tells you, you don't have to argue with any person. Hebrew, a noun, one of the descendants of Eber or Heber, but particularly a descendant of Jacob, who was a descendant of Eber, an Israelite, a Jew. Let's see, do I got my other information here? If I don't have it, I'm not going to go downstairs and get it. I'll speak on it later on, because I'm always just giving a little information to my brothers and sisters daily. Now watch this. When we talk about Hellenistic, Hellenic or Hellenic is an adjective pertaining to the Hellenists or inhabitants of Greece, so-called from Hellas in Greece or from Helen. Hellenism is a noun, a phrase in the idiom genus or construction of the Greek language. When we say the Greek language is the Hellenistic language, Hellenistic, a noun, a Grecian Jew, a Jew who used the Greek language. One skilled in the Greek language. Hellenistic, adjective, pertaining to the Hellenists. The Hellenistic language was the Greek spoken or used by the Jews who lived in Egypt and other countries where the Greek language prevailed. Hellenize, a verb, to use the Greek language. Hell's Point is a noun, a narrow strait between Europe and Asia, now called the Dandalos, a part of the passage between the Exxon and the Egon Sea. That's how Alexander the Greek got from Europe to Asia, or Africa per se. Hell's Point, pertaining to the Hell's Point. Hellish is an adjective pertaining to hell. I mean, these are things that is in the dictionary you can research. Just like when I show you the Hebrew hill. If Hebrews and Negroes were the same, then they would have called them the same. I'm gonna give you that document. It's the Hebrew hill. And these brothers was free. They had land. Just like when you go back in history and read in the 1599 Geneva Bible, it doesn't say black, African, or Ethiopian or nothing. It says Moor. Right? So, just like in certain writings, you get confused because Ethiopia, the ancient name is Abyssinia. That's why we got to study. And these are things, a lot of literature that we're going to have at our lecture for order donations. And Amazon, they try to charge an arm and a leg, but through my affiliations, we have the literature. We're going to be giving literature about the Washita Moors, all that. I'm going to give you a little bit about this. Let's see. Because I don't want to stay too far in it. But I'll give you a little bit of pieces of what's stated in 103 Amazing Facts about the Black Indian of the Western Hemisphere. Listen to this. Black Indians have lived in the Western Hemisphere since time immemorial. Black Indians were not spawned or created as a result of Africans coming to the Western Hemisphere during the transatlantic slave trade, mixing in with native people of the Western Hemisphere region, also known as Native Indians. Native or indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere, also known as Indians, did not refer to themselves or their ancestors as Indians. We use the word Indian since most people are accustomed to the title. The word Indian, red man, and Native American are European colonized terms. Native or indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere refer to themselves by way of tones, vibrations of expression. Your spirit said who and what you were. The name given to you was based upon what type of spirit you possessed. All native or indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians, possess different physiological features. Hair, texture, bone structure, skin tone vary. All native or indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians, did not and do not have high cheekbones, slanted eyes, reddish copper skin, or straight black hair. All native or indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere did not live in teepees and pueblos. It is difficult for society to accept the Black Indian as being native or indigenous to the Western Hemisphere region because society has been brainwashed with fabricated fake images of indigenous people in the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians. Most reservation Indians were carefully selected by the USA government to occupy reservations when reservations were being established. Research the doctrine of discovery, Moors. The U.S. government, for the most part, selected pale-skinned Indians or Hollywood virgin Indians to occupy U.S. government-established reservations. Moors, you must know the real story of Pocahontas and why the Europeans wanted to mix. I'm telling you, it's more than what you think. The U.S. government selected a certain physiological type of native, aka Indian, to promote the world as this is the real Indian, as well as this is how a real Indian looks. The dark-skinned native indigenous to the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians, were reclassified, Moors, reclassified during the 17 and 1800s as Negro, black, or colored. That's why our babies, when they in school, they started them off at 1700. They were reclassified. Reclassified. Certain dark-skinned natives were allowed to settle on reservations with pale-skinned natives. Most were not. Pale-skinned natives came about as a result of the original dark-skinned natives breeding with pale-skinned Europeans. A light-skinned native born from this union would again breed with a pale European. The progeny of the union would become more pale or genetically recessive. After centuries of this breeding process, eventually produced a pale-skinned native of the Western Hemisphere. The dark-skinned native who did not mix their seed still endured. The U.S. government has reclassified most as Black Americans or African Americans. That's why you must claim your nationality the right way. Most dark-skinned native indigenous to the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians, who were reclassified as Negroes or colored during the 17th and 1800s, have found themselves in the 20th and 21st century again reclassified as Black Americans and African Americans. This is history. Most early European writers during the 1400s throughout the 1800s, including pale-skinned Jews, all agreed that the heathen savage of the Western Hemisphere, aka the Indians, throughout the Americas, were without a doubt descendants of the lost tribe of Israel. I'll show you that with Adar book. And then when you get the book by Bertrand Thomas, he tell you that it ain't no such thing as an Arab genetically. A pale-skinned European by the name of James Adar, an English writer and trader during the 18th century, lived amongst Black Indians in the Southeast. James Adar wrote a book entitled History of the American Indian. And in this book, he claimed that the Indians of the Western Hemisphere were descendants of the lost tribes of Israel. James Adar, in his book History of the American Indian, wrote 23 arguments to support his findings that the so-called American Indian were descendants of the lost tribes of Israel. Things that are hidden in history. When you research the Israel Hill, the free so-called blacks of Israel Hill, it was free Hebrews and Negroes. Read it. The titles Black American, African American are fake, inappropriate, European colonized titles to keep indigenous people off the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians, under a spell of ignorance. The titles Black American and African American were purposely created to psychologically and spiritually disconnect people of the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians, from their true motherland, which is right up under their feet. Moors. I mean, I can go on, man. And the reason why Negro, blacks, and colors find it hard and difficult themselves is because we've been programmed, fabricated, in images of native people in the Western Hemisphere. Fake images of our own indigenous ancestors has been routinely drilled into the psyche of the babies. The Black Indian image does not register within their psyche because of the fake imagery programming that was put on us on TV in schools. During the time of Pangea Moors, a Greek word that means all one. When you research Pangea, it means all one. That's why you have to get a book called American BC before this so-called Ice Age, and you can see how everything was connected and how we traveled. We were Moors, seamen, navigators. All of the continents on the planet Earth were one mass of land. People lived and thrived during the time of Pangea. This is a large explanation as to why pyramid builders in the Eastern Hemisphere and pyramid builders in the Western Hemisphere have cultures that are incredibly synonymous or the same. The continent continued to move, Moors. Some move 4 inches a year. The continents will one day become one mass of land again, I promise you. The continents are currently separated at this time. However, Moors, the genetic link of beings from Pangea never parted, Moors. The term Moor was applied to dark-skinned, brown-skinned, and reddish-brown-skinned people who were not only indigenous to Europe, but the West and North Africans. Even Black Indians of the Western Hemisphere were also dubbed with this title. Indigenous Black Celtics, Indigenous Black Britons, Indigenous Black Portuguese, Indigenous Black Spaniards, also known as Moors, had a long time knowledge of indigenous people in the Western Hemisphere. These Moors were well informed of the different customs, traditions, languages of natives of the Western Hemisphere. These dark-skinned Europeans, Moors, were used as buffers by pale-skinned Europeans to help colonize the New World. These indigenous Black Europeans, aka Moors, not only solicited the New World to pale-skinned Europeans, but also waged war on indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians. This is just history, man. Remove your feelings and get with history. Brothers and sisters have been fighting forever. Certain Black indigenous Europeans, aka Moors, that went under such titles as clergymen and European nobility shared a common consciousness with pale-skinned Europeans. That common consciousness being that the indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians, were untamed heathen savages. I mean, this is history. Certain Moors helped to navigate Christopher Columbus' voyage to the New World. He wasn't lost. He knew exactly where he was going, simply because of who was on the boat with him. And this is stuff we have to know, Moors. Remove the veil of religious dogma. Remove the veil of the Moors did this. Negro, Black, and colors killing each other every day. Get into the science of it. When you say you were already here, and you were navigators, and nothing was discovered that was here. The founding fathers did nothing to find anything. They went to black Indians. They went to the Iroquois nation seeking assistance to break away from their chief back in England, King George III. The Iroquois nation taught them their system of government. The only part that the so-called founding fathers left out was the matriarchy. Black Indian women ruled the Iroquois nation. Most black Indians of the Western Hemisphere found themselves seduced by European lifestyle, customs, and traditions. What's happening today? So I want Moors to get into history, man. Look up how much this information costs. We have it. You got to get to 1828 Webster Dictionary and look up words. So Moors, we're going to be having a lecture in Flint, Michigan in the month of July. And we're going to be doing one in Detroit, Michigan as well. That's following weekend. And all we ask for is a $20 donation. That $20 donation gets you at least one of the pieces of the literature that I gathered and compiled and divinely prepared. And there's going to be other books that I gathered and divinely prepared there at the lecture. And other books that you might want to purchase and donate from other authors, history books. But I love you all, Moors. I love you all. Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice, health, and wealth. Peace.